All right, looks like we're recording now, so thank you again for all coming. To let you know, you can answer or ask any questions that you have throughout the course of this session using the chat feature. Everyone is on mute right now, so if you want to use the chat feature, that would be most helpful. And I'll be over there monitoring the chat box and asking your questions to the panel throughout the session. With that, I want to go ahead and get started and have my panel introduce themselves. We've got lots of folks here, so here's who's with me today, and we'll go ahead and kick it off with Danielle and just go down the line if my panel would like to introduce themselves.
Yep, happy Thursday, everybody. My name is Danielle Bristow, she, her, hers pronouns. I serve as the Assistant Dean for Student Affairs, which just means I get to work with all the different departments that help you from admissions through graduation, and I'm really excited to get to meet everybody.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny Harpring. I'm the Assistant Dean for Field Education. I use she, her pronouns, and I work with a great team of people who are working to connect students to their field education opportunities either through practicum or internship.
Hi everyone, my name is Zach Romo. I use he, him, his pronouns, and I'm Assistant Director for Student Engagement, which means I work very heavily with our students and everything outside of the classroom, that co-curricular life piece. So our student activities, student government, initiatives and things that come up, and helping those kind of navigate their way to administration, among a lot of other things.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining. My name is Miriam Jolson. I'm the Academic and Student Affairs Coordinator at the Brown School. I'm also a Brown School alum and I use she, her pronouns. I do a lot of academic advising and I also work on student support and student success.
Good afternoon, my name is Dominique Sandheinrich. You will see Dominique Brown probably come through your email portal, but it's the same person. I am the new Assistant Director of Financial Services. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I will guide you through anything financial aid related. So if you have any questions specifically towards your package, or if you haven't gotten that yet, definitely feel free to get a hold of me. I'm happy to work with all of you.
Hi there, I'm Chloe Risto, MSW Program Manager. I use she, her, her pronouns. I work directly with the Associate Dean and Assistant Deans for the MSW program and do a lot of academic advising as well. If there are any advanced standing students on this call today, what's up? I'm your advisor.
Hi everyone, I'm Elizabeth Hahn. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the MPH Program Manager at the Brown School, so Chloe Risto's counterpart in the MPH Program Office. So I also support the Associate and Assistant Deans in the MPH program with events and also do a lot of advising. Great to be here.
Hi everybody, my name is Ragini Madhipati. I use she, her pronouns. I am the MPH Field Education Manager, which just means I primarily oversee students in the MPH program throughout their practicum process, but I also work closely with my MSW counterparts and also help to advise duals. I'm so excited to see everybody today and look forward to working with you.
Hello everyone, my name is Lin Yun Fu. I work as the Manager of Global Program at Brown School. I'm also a Brown School MSW alum. I work closely with international students and also I work in admission office and also with MSP program. If you have any question around that, please let me know.
Hi everybody, I think I'm last. My name is Sarah Billingsley. I recognize a lot of your faces because I've been working with you over the last few months. I'm a recent social work alum. I just graduated in May. I'm also a student ambassador with the Office of Admissions and Recruitment. And I'm really just excited to offer some student perspective today and be able to answer questions about what the transition into fall looks like as an incoming student.
All right, thank you all so much. So this impressive crew is representative of many folks who will be supporting you during your 1 to 3 years while you're at the Brown School. We're all part of the academic and student affairs team. And so these are the folks that are going to be advising you, connecting with you, really just guiding you through the process. And so any questions that you have related to their areas of expertise, please feel free to type them up in the chat box and we'll get to them, as many of them as we can throughout the session. If we don't get to your question, no worries. We'll be grabbing all of those questions at the end. And so if there's anything we don't get to, we'll be sure to reach out to you and share those answers. Before we get started with questions, and we did receive a few before the session, so thank you to those who submitted your questions beforehand. We'll answer those first, and then I'll go to any questions that are posted in the chat box. But before we do that, I'm going to go through just a few to-dos. You all should have received, if you are an incoming student, the enrollment packet. Boy, is that thing chock full of stuff. We've got, like I said, lots and lots to do. And so the first thing, if you haven't already, that is so important that we want you to do is read that enrollment packet cover to cover. It's got lots of steps, but we hope that by kind of stepping out all of the things that you need to do over the course of the next couple months, it makes it a pretty seamless process for you. But we're going to go through some of those steps in detail right now. So right now, many of you have already activated your Washu Whistle Key and email, which should have been sent to your personal email on June 8th if you've already submitted your intent to enroll. That's step 1 in the enrollment packet. After you create those, it could take a couple days, 2 or 3 days before you get access to university systems. So little patience while that gets set up, but once it's in, you're in, and you have access to all of the things that you'll need to be successful while you're at WashU. Next, by Sunday, we would like for you to decide and share your enrollment track with us. So this year, because of the pandemic, we have come up with a few alternative ways to offer courses for the fall semester. A hybrid track, which will allow folks to be on campus for a limited time for at least 1 and maybe 2 classes in person, and then an online only track in which you'll be taking all of your classes online. If you can decide which track you'd like to do by Sunday, that would be really helpful for us in planning, and that's in step 2 of the enrollment packet. There is a teal, blue, green box on that page, which you can click and fill out the online form to let us know what you're thinking about track-wise. And if you change your mind, that's okay. You'll work with your advisor really closely to make sure you're making the best choice for yourself. Next, complete steps 3 through 5 in the enrollment packet. This is all about establishing your 2-factor authentication, which is the system that WashU uses to authenticate your login. So if you're logging in from anywhere outside of WashU, it's just another layer of security to make sure that you are who you are and that you can access all of the things safely that you need to online. It also is the steps that you need to take to update your contact information, read that all-important student handbook, and all of that good stuff so that everything on your online portal is accurate and up to date. Then you'll do steps 6 and 7, which is to start searching for your courses and building your registration worksheet. You should receive an email from your advisor next week, June 16th, which is step 8, and you can ask them any questions that you have about coursework, searching for courses, building that registration worksheet. They are the experts on that and can help you through that process. There's also some good how-to step-by-step videos in the enrollment packet, so you can watch those as well if you've got some questions. And then finally, step 8, you will work with your advisor to get that registration worksheet approved. It takes about 2 full weekdays for your advisor to review and respond, so thanks for the patience in advance. And then once you have your registration worksheet approved, it's time to register for courses. That will happen for our MSW Advanced Standing students, so all of Chloe's advisees. That will happen on Tuesday, June 30th, starting at 9 a.m. Central Time. For everyone else, You'll start registration on Thursday, July 2nd at 9 a.m. Central Time as well. I know it's a lot of information, right? There is so much that it feels like we have to do between now and then. So hopefully these resources that we have online will be really helpful in going through those steps, kind of line by line and month by month. We have created a summer checklist just specifically for June, so you can just focus on those things that need to be happening in June right now. We sent you an email pretty recently with all of those steps, and if you don't know where that email is, you can go to Admitted Resources on the Brown School website, Admitted Student Resources, and find the summer checklist on that website as well. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so that I can see everybody. And okay, now we're gonna move into questions. Like I said, we're gonna start out with the questions that were submitted beforehand. We've got a few. So I'm gonna go ahead and read those and have my panelists answer those questions. And then we can move on to questions that are submitted by you all in the chat box. So go ahead, you've got questions, something on your mind, go ahead and type them up, we'll get to them. But first we'll go ahead and get started with the ones that were sent first. So my first two questions, I'm combining a couple that were sent about part-time jobs and working while you're enrolled at the Brown School, especially as we're doing a lot of this work remotely. We have a question, one person wrote that they heard about Washu having a hiring freeze in place, and if you know that it's true for the Brown School, and if so, what that might mean for students interested in finding graduate assistantships, research positions to help offset the financial costs of graduate school. Do you have any advice looking for part-time jobs outside of the school? So that first part of the question, I'm going to turn to Danielle to answer a bit about that. And then we've got a question coming up next that I think Dom can also help with.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. So yeah, so there is a hiring freeze at Washington University, which does affect a little bit of our student employees. And so we're working really hard to work with our faculty because there's a little bit more flexibility when it comes to faculty who are funded through grants and faculty funds. And so we're going to be providing some more information about opportunities at the Brown School specifically, more with some of our faculty. There will be some limited job opportunities, maybe with some departments. We're not sure what that's going to look like quite yet. And then we are going to look at how we broaden your opportunities across our campus. So I know some students have federal work study and want to work on campus, international students who have to work on campus. So we're going to be working, I know that our career team is not here today, but they're amazing. So Lee and Josh and Amber and Tina are going to be able to help. We're going to be providing some more information. You'll be getting some more information about how we're going to market to you and have you know more about our part-time job opportunities. So we'll definitely work with you. Make sure you're working with our career team and Dominique, so that we can do the best we can to support you.
Perfect. Thanks, Danielle. And so the second part of that too was about federal work study and what that will look like for students. The specific question, I'm going to pull this back up. Will students with federal work study struggle to find WashU jobs to help pay for cost of living in St. Louis? This is someone who's strongly considering the hybrid track.
So yeah, I think Danielle pretty much covered that. There is, it's going to look differently this year. Specifically at the Brown School, like Danielle said, there's going to be probably limited actual positions. And so we're working with faculty, we're working with our department, our school, to kind of see what that looks like, how many that will offer, and then broaden that to the campus wide and kind of figure out what positions are going to be there. And then what positions are going to be more or less remote work. And so that could look like literature reviews or even just doing like call center stuff from your home. And so definitely continue to look out for those email communications. We're communicating within the team, like Danielle said, to kind of figure out what that's going to look like. And then we'll let everyone know who is qualified for work study. We'll push that with our international students as well. So it's kind of up in the air, but we'll hopefully have something in place very soon.
Yeah, thanks, Dom, and thank you, Danielle, too. Next question, what kind of classes will advanced standing students, specifically hybrid advanced standing students be able to take on campus, particularly as a student in the 12-month program. There's a concern about not having the opportunity to ever get the full campus experience and take classes in person. So Chloe, I'll direct that one to you.
Thanks, Sarah. Great question. So for all of the social work advanced standing students here today, we're going to work, me and you, we will work together to figure out what your schedule is going to look like. If you're hoping to do hybrid, we will go through what classes you are required to take for your concentration and if you have a specialization. And together we will figure out how many classes might mean you'd be online, how many classes you might be on campus, and we will work from there. So long story short, I'm going to work with each of you to figure out what that means, 12-month and 16-month.
Thanks, Chloe. And I think that can go for like all students too, just working with your advisors, also for our advanced standing folks who are in the MPH track or in the MPH program, working closely with Elizabeth, or really whoever your academic advisor is on figuring out best steps for you. That's going to be key. Next question, there's a couple questions here about campus resources and what will be available to students. Specifically, if libraries will be available, advising, work study again, exercise facilities. Will any of that be available to students who are doing the hybrid track? And Zach, I'll have you start with that answer, and then Danielle can add anything too.
Yeah, so the kind of basic thing that we've heard throughout this is that if it doesn't have to happen on campus, or, you know, if it's able to reduce our density, we're not going to do things on campus just out of safety. So library services are going to look a little different, and we're going to have actual language in your online orientation that details some of those procedures. But the key takeaway is to really plan ahead and plan to have to schedule appointments and schedule time with people. Drop-in hours and things are going to be difficult, I think, to do, especially any in-person drop-in is probably not going to happen. I think in most cases, you'll probably just be asked to schedule an appointment for a later time. So we're going to try and work to make sure there are some degree of flexibility for those kind of last minute things that do pop up. But definitely advise you just plan ahead as soon as you get your syllabi. And if you see those projects coming up and things that you might need assistance with, you know, go ahead and get something on the schedule. For advising and other things, we're gonna likely be scheduling meetings over Zoom or over the phone, just again to limit, you know, density on campus and not have folks milling about the buildings at any odd time.
I just want to add that all the services, I would not say all, the services are just going to look different. We're not trying to reduce. So like, you know, I've had really successful advising meetings over Zoom. Like, I know it's not the same. I know it's not, we can't be in the office and high five one another. But you know, I've been able to share my screen. We can look at things together in a way that we actually couldn't do it before. So, I mean, and when it comes to our support services on campus, like you'll be able to still meet with a librarian. It just may be over a screen. Our Habit Health and Wellness Center, if you're living in Missouri, they've been able to do telehealth. And so the library, so everything is just going to look differently. And then when we're back in person at some point in the future, I'll make sure that those high fives happen. So, but I would be really, you know, again, we're trying to be super supportive. None of our support services are going to be reduced. They're just going to look a little bit different. I know there was a question about the exercise facility. So Summers Recreation Center, we have not heard yet what that's going to look like. In Missouri, gyms are opening, but that does not necessarily, gyms are opening next week, but I'm not sure what we're doing for Summers, and we may not know that until probably August. So look, and as we try to be as transparent as possible, so as services adapt, change, open, we will be sure to let you know.
As a little plug, I am someone who does use the Summers Rec Center and have not been able to since it closed, but they have all of their group fitness classes online. So that is something that you can still take advantage of. I know it's not the same, working out at home, it just is not the same, but for me anyway, but that is available. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Zach, for those answers. Then we have a bunch of questions about practicum. So I'm going to group these three kind of together and have Jenny and Ragini shed some light on these. So mostly folks are just wondering what the difference is going to look like in practicum this semester and maybe even in spring from normal semesters. Will choosing the online only option put a student at a disadvantage? Or is it possible for students to do their practicum while under the current situation? Basically, what's the deal with practicum? So I'll have Jenny start.
Yeah, all really good practicum questions, and I'm glad you all are anticipating what that might look like. I can tell you where we're at with practicum now and what we anticipate moving forward. So during the last semester, the majority of our students were working remotely in their practicum. And we were very impressed by the majority of our sites were able to make that transition pretty seamlessly and provide our students with opportunities to engage in remote work. Just in the last, I would say, 3 weeks, students have started going back in person to their practicum sites. And we are working with both the students and the sites to make sure that the proper precautions are in place for students to be safe at the sites and also for students not to be bringing COVID into the site. And so we've been working with our sites and our students on that and have been really successful around kind of reconnecting our students in person. As far as what practicum is going to look like in the fall, for students that are starting practicum in the fall, I think that if there's going to be a high number of them that are in person and will look a little bit more traditional, and there'll still be masking, there'll still be physical distancing and all of those safety precautions in place. And then the practicum search during the fall, we anticipate as being a little bit different than usual. So usually we have a very large scale in-person practicum fair. We're working right now on transitioning that to an online fair and have a lot of people thinking about the best way to do that. We actually expect that we're going to be able to offer more opportunities through the online fair than in person because we won't have the space restrictions that we've had in the past. And then students will be able to interview either over Zoom or in person, depending on the site needs and where the student is. We do work with the other social work programs in the city on communicating with our field instructors, and we're all preparing them for the fact that there might be some remote instructions and students might need to be doing interviewing remotely during the fall semester for a spring start practicum. For MPH, their timeline is a little bit further out, and Ragini can talk a little bit about that.
Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, so our MPH students typically start their practicum search in the spring, and that will go for our advanced standing students as well, since the majority of our MPH students complete their practicum during the summer between their first and second year. So a lot of the lessons that we're going to learn about how to do a virtual practicum fair, what the interview process will look like, we will adapt from what we learned in the fall semester. For our current cohort, actually, almost all of our students have found a placement for the summer, with just a very few thinking about a fall placement. So rest assured that we are still finding good matches either here in Missouri, or students are also doing practicums remotely with sites in Missouri or even in their home state or their home country.
Yeah, and a note on if you are doing 100% online and are not physically in St. Louis in the fall, and should we have to continue that sort of instruction into the spring, we will be working with students to affiliate sites in their geographic location where they're living. There is a pretty extensive affiliation process that includes some legal documents and agreement forms. And so we will be asking you to get that started as soon as possible if it looks like we're going to need to pivot that direction. But that is an option that we've been able to offer people as our geographic locations are different than if we were doing 100% in-person program here in St. Louis. I don't anticipate that choosing online is going to put you at a disadvantage for practicum. We are working with our sites around being able to interview remotely. And then when you arrive here in the spring being able to start that practicum even remotely or in person. And I just want to say that if there's a second spike and another shelter in place order goes in place, we'll just have to pivot and be very nimble around that. The good news is that we have some experience in that now, and have some really good things to build off on, and that in the last semester, our sites were really great on continuing their relationships with students.
Thanks, Jenny and Ragini. Actually, I want to ask Sarah Billingsley, since you had to experience practicum, well, all the things in a very reimagined way in your last semester, you want to talk a little bit about what that looked like specifically for you, and maybe how it felt for some of your peers too?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to chat a little bit about that. And you know, something I think is important to note is that the organizations that we're working with are like going through the same motions we are. They're trying to find ways to adapt. A lot of the organizations that we work with, at least on the social work side of things, but also on public health side of things, like rely pretty heavily on their practicum students. You get to a point in your practicum where you're operating like very similarly to their full-time staff members, or at least that's the goal, right? Because this is supposed to be a professional, immersive experience. At least for me, it has been. So I was in my concentration practicum this past year and was sort of winding down, for lack of a better phrase, when we transitioned, and my practicum was at Barnes-Jewish Hospital with their perinatal behavioral health service. I was doing inpatient and outpatient healthcare work. And so when our department got sort of sent home, for lack of a better phrase, we were sort of scrambling to try to figure out how to do patient care remotely. So my days looked like a lot of phone calls, a lot of trying to get my clients and patients set up for remote interaction. So I was doing a lot of the same stuff, just virtually. Is kind of like what Danielle was saying with support services. We're trying to offer the same services. We're just figuring out new ways to do it. So it was actually a really cool experience to be able to work closely with my team and feel like I was problem solving alongside them to figure out how to keep doing this work the best way we can. So I want to honor everybody's apprehension and worry about what practicum is going to look like and how are you going to get in-person experience when you maybe can't be in person. But our practicum sites are fantastic and they genuinely want to be working with you. And so I think if you're willing to be flexible and open to new ways of doing things, then they'll be excited to integrate you into their teams.
That's great. Thanks, Sarah. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and move on to questions that were submitted in the chat box. Looks like there's quite a few there already, so thank you all so much for sending these along. The first one I have actually was sent to me about emergency contact information, and there might be some struggles with filling out the emergency contact information piece of it. So in the enrollment packet on page 8, there is a little link in a blue teal box again with a YouTube video that kind of walks through step by step what all the things you need to click on to fill out contact information. Try that out. And if you're still having some issues with getting to the right spot, email admissions and we'll help you troubleshoot. Or you can also reach out to IT, but admissions will be your first stop and then we can help you from there. All right, next question. For an elective credit, are we able to take classes at the law school? Yes, Danielle, do you want to talk about that?
Well, I think Chloe can, because for right now, it'd be mostly advanced standing students for this semester. So Chloe, you want to grab that one?
Sure thing. Yes, so MSW students have the opportunity to take elective credits outside of the Brown School at places, other schools on Washu's campus. Also have an opportunity to take some classes at partner universities as well. So if you are interested in looking into a law school class, I don't know who asked that, but if I'm your advisor, talk to me about it, and there's a form that needs to be filled out and some steps we have to take, but that is a possibility.
And I just want to clarify that electives are also available for MPH students as well. So all of our students can take electives outside of the Brown School. And like Chloe said, it's sort of like a two-step process that we'll walk you through. I do want to say for this fall, if you are interested in doing that, especially make sure you're working with your advisor, because the law school and the Brown School are starting on August 24th. Other schools at the university, like the Olin Business School, Arts and Sciences, are not starting until the 14th. So that will just shift your semester a little bit for that one course. So just make sure you're kind of planning for that.
Great, thank you both. Next question is for international students. So I think Lin-Wen, I might start with you for this question, and then Danielle might be able to fill in some gaps too. But the question is, if I start online for fall 20, but was to join campus for spring 21, but couldn't due to visa issues, can I take a semester break? If so, how will my semester break affect credits, scholarship, tuition? So you want to talk a little bit about visa, the piece first, Lin-Wen?
Yes, thank you for the question. So we understand that there's a lot of uncertainty, particularly for international students this year due to like the travel, like the visa issue and also travel ban. So like our office, our global program office, and also our university-wide international student office, we are consistently monitoring all the policies and also the travel issue and also the visa policies for different countries. So I would suggest you also like work closely with our office, so to explore possible options and based on your like unique needs. And also, I think Daniel could answer like the school policy of a semester break.
So for any reason you need to take a semester break and take a leave of absence, just work with your academic advisor and they'll work with you through the system. And then you will also want to work with Dominique about how that will affect your scholarship and financial aid. We do our best to work with you to preserve some of those things, but it's a very individualistic conversation. So we want to work with you if you do need to take a semester break. And we do have students that take semester breaks for a variety of reasons. So COVID related, visa related, sometimes it's personal, professional. So we've had lots of students who are very successful when they take a break for a semester and then come back and are seamlessly integrated back into our university. But again, your advisor and Dominique are going to be the two biggest supporters to support you through that process.
Perfect, thank you. All right, next question. I think our two program managers could talk a little bit about this. So Elizabeth and then Chloe, going the online track only. Are the online classes asynchronous, synchronous, or a combination of the two? I know we had another question about that too, especially as it concerns folks who are in different time zones. So Elizabeth, if you want to tackle that one, and then Chloe too.
Sure, no, that's a great question. I know right now faculty are still kind of developing what this will look like in fall. It's my understanding that there will be a mix of both, but for students who are doing it online, actually our international students with different time zones, we will make sure that that content is available in an asynchronous format. So lectures will be recorded and available to you regardless of time.
I echo what Elizabeth said for the social work side of things. You will see a combination of synchronous and asynchronous. And if you are in a different time zone as well, the social work faculty right now are having those discussions about making sure that there's content recorded that students can access so that you get all the content and instruction that you need.
Perfect, thank you both. Next question is, will there be an online option for the spring semester as well? Danielle?
I'll take. So we don't know. I think, but we're really going to be looking really closely at the public health of the community, especially here in St. Louis, before we make any of those determinations. I think we're going to be flexible and nimble, and so I'm not going to say yes, I'm not going to say no. It really is going to depend on like the public health statistics, specifically here in the St. Louis area, because the safety and well-being of our students is the most important thing. And so we will work with you, and you'll know as soon as we know, you'll know.
Perfect, thank you. This question, I think, could be for Dom or Danielle. If you choose the online track, are you still eligible for work study?
Absolutely. It's still part of a program. And so I know that we hopefully will be able to find some remote work for you, but you're definitely eligible for that. And that's all depending on your FAFSA. So yes, you are eligible.
Perfect. Thanks, Dom. The next question's for you too.
Yeah.
How do the payments look like? Do you pay in installments? Do you pay per semester when it comes to paying for tuition?
Yeah, so that's kind of individualized as well, but we encourage students, if you need a payment plan, you can set that up through our student financial services. That's always an option to pay monthly across the semester. But once you get your WUSTL key, you'll have the opportunity to go into My FA Access and be able to pay, view your bill, and do that online. And so we definitely encourage online if you have that, especially during the times that we are in right now. But if you need help with like the steps to that, definitely reach out to me. But you have that opportunity to pay as much or as little, but typically paying that semester off by the end of semester, then starting over that next semester. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Dom.
No problem.
All right. The enrollment packet mentions that 11 credits is the minimum course load. I believe that's for public health. So if you anticipate graduating in May 2022, how many credits or courses do we need to take for each semester? So for public health, and then we can also answer that for social work too. Yeah, well, Elizabeth, if you want to take that one.
Sure. So yes, 11 credit hours, that's our recommended minimum just to stay on track if you plan to graduate in 2 years. And then again, your academic advisor will work with you on the enrollment caps for each semester, so the max amount of credits you can roll in. But again, what's set up right now is to keep you on track to graduate within the 2-year period.
When it comes to social work, typically students are going to take 12, hold on, let me talk about regular standing students. A 2-year student, typically students are going to take around 12 to 15 credit hours. If you picture 15, you could do 15 across the board and walk out with that 60 credit requirement in 2 years' time. If you need to dip below 15 credits at any point in a semester, you again will work with your academic advisor so that you can make up credits in a subsequent semester. When it comes to my advanced standing students, we're going to be a bit more stringent with those 12-monthers. And I will work with you on that for those 12-month students, because we're going to have to hit the caps both semesters so that you can finish in 12 months. My 16-month advanced standing students on the social work side, you have some more flexibility on the amount of credits that you take per semester. But note that 9 credit hours keeps you at full-time status.
Thanks, Elizabeth and Chloe. The next question, and I think Jenny and Ragini kind of touched on this a little bit, but just to offer a little more clarification. So would doing an online semester for fall 20 in any way affect practicum opportunities for summer?
If you're a social work student, it will, then you would really be thinking about starting your foundation practicum in the summer, which would be not uncommon, but not the traditional sequencing. So the traditional sequencing for social work is to do your foundation practicum in the spring semester, and then finish it in the summer, and then start your concentration the next your second year. What it would impact would be the search process. And we have a team of field advisors that are willing and ready to help you with that. If you're a public health student, public health students generally don't start the practicum search until January or February. And so if you're online in the fall, that shouldn't impact your summer practicum.
Great, thank you. All right, I just lost my place in my question list. So this one I can answer. The question is, will tuition and or fees be lowered due to everything being online? No. So tuition and fees will remain the same whether or not you are doing the online track or the hybrid option.
And I just want to clarify that, just so you all know that that's a decision that's made by the university. So the individual schools cannot make that determination for ourselves. And so we really need to follow the policies and the guidance from Washington University, not the Brown School.
Yeah. Great, thanks, Danielle. Another question about Practicum. Do you know if Washu is affiliated with the VA for Practicum?
Yes, we are affiliated with the VA. They probably have the most stringent application process, and so they release their application pretty early for students that want to start in the fall of 2021. Usually you're applying in February and March for that, and they have very specific application guidelines that we will get out to students in multiple ways so that you have that information. They do require a 2-semester commitment, and so they're not eligible for public health or social policy. They're only available for social work right now. We are working with them on that, but they require that 2-semester commitment.
Great, thanks, Jenny. This question is about RA and graduate assistantship positions. So a few of those have been on freeze. When will the freeze get released? And once they do, how can we work in one of those positions if we're doing coursework online during the fall? Anyone want to take?
I'll grab it. So I think, so there's not gonna be like, so it's really gonna be faculty member by faculty member, department by department. So if there's a specific department or faculty member or research center that you're interested in working with, we need to contact those individual supervisors to let us know whether or not their positions will be available. And that, a lot of our RA and a lot of our graduate assistantship did move remote work in the spring. And so I would suspect if you're going to be staying online and you have a position with a research center or faculty member, that they will be able to find work for you. Kind of like Dominique said earlier, lit reviews and other kind of independent educational research.
Yeah, and if you need help with getting in touch with faculty or know that there's a faculty member or a research center that you're interested in and want some assistance with reaching out to them, you can reach out to admissions and we'd be happy to help make that connection for you too. The next question is for Lin-Wen. It's about global programs. So what is the current conversation around global programs? Will there be opportunities to remotely participate in global practicum?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I just sent a link to the chat box. You can check the link. There are all the international practicum opportunities are posted. They are all our affiliate agencies around the world. Also, correct me if I'm wrong, Jenny. So the international practicum are concentration only. So you have to finish your foundation practicum. Like if you are MSW, like non-advanced studying student, you have to finish your 3-credit foundation practicum first, and then you can do your concentrated practicum. So global international practicum you can only do international practicum as long as you finish your foundation practicum. Also, you will be receiving like an email from Tammy Orhood, the director of global program, about more information about international practicum opportunity in the fall. So just to make sure to to watch out your email box in the fall. There will be an international practicum session to talk more detail about how this will go for this, particularly for this year. I think there will be remote opportunity there.
We've had a lot of success with students doing remote work for international organizations. So it may not be the global opportunity or global travel that you may have been hoping for, but there is definitely work with our international partners.
Great, thanks Lin-Wen and thanks Danielle. This question is about the online option and that introductory, the Practice 1 course for MSW, which is social work practice with individuals, groups, and families. That one's being offered in person. So if you're doing the online only option for that first semester, will that limit opportunities or delay anything for graduation? Chloe.
Thanks for that. So this year specifically, because of COVID, if you are doing online only and you are a foundation level student and you will not be able to take Practice 1 in the fall, there will be a Practice 1, maybe just one section. I'm not totally clear on how many sections, but there will be in the spring the opportunity to take Practice 1. But note that this is for this year due to the circumstances. Typically, you are required to take Practice 1 in the spring, because typically it is a prerequisite for a Practice 2 course. So again, yes, there will be an opportunity in the spring, and no, it will not hinder your ability to graduate in 2 years if you are a regular standing student.
Just to add to that, it is typically a prerequisite for practicum, but we are allowing it to be a co-requisite for practicum.
That's really helpful. Thanks, Jenny. And thank you, Chloe, for that too. I can say, just as like someone outside watching all of the work that's going into reimagining what our curriculum and course offerings are going to look like. There's a lot of intention behind it, and folks are really keen on what our students need. So I think if the need is there, this team will find a way. I've seen that happen. So no worries, we got you, and we'll make sure that you get graduated on time. All right, next question is from Lauren. I noticed that there are some courses where different professors are teaching the same course. Do these courses have the same structure, readings, discussions, or is it different based on the professor? Should we consider that professor that is teaching the course before choosing the course? Who would like to tackle that one?
I vote you let Sarah do it.
Sarah Billingsley, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that one pop up. Gosh, there's like a couple answers to this question, right? So for foundation coursework, yes, there are multiple professors teaching those courses. That being said, there are certain competencies associated with those courses that remain the same. So the content that you're getting and like the goals of the course of what you're wanting to get out of it are going to be the same regardless of which professor is teaching it, especially for those foundation courses. Those foundation courses are sort of overseen by faculty, and they're coordinated in such a way so that everybody's getting the same content, because that's important. What you're going to see difference-wise is going to be more stylistic differences with professors. Some professors teach it differently in terms of like what their readings are, what the discussions are. You're going to see a lot of similarities, but there may be some differences. And if I'm saying something incorrect, Chloe or Elizabeth, please correct me if I'm wrong, if something has changed. But like for a lot of courses, you may see that they have the same main book associated with them, but instructors choose different additional discussions or readings to add to that, or they may add additional journals or things like that. So to get to like the main question that you're asking is, should you consider the professor that is teaching the course before choosing a course? My recommendation would be, look at the course that's going to fit best with your schedule. That's probably the most important thing, right? That being said, it's not the worst thing in the world to do a little bit of research into who the professors are. If for no other reason, then it would be really cool to build a relationship with a professor who maybe has interests that align with yours. The example I'll give is I took a course, my first semester was a foundation course with one of the faculty members who happens to be in my concentration. She ended up becoming my faculty advisor. So that's like a really cool thing, that because I saw that we have similar interests and she's kind of working in the work that I want to, I was able to build that relationship early on. That being said, if you don't do that, or you're not able to get into that one course with that one professor, that's okay. You're still going to have a great experience. You're still going to get the content you need. And it may just be a good opportunity for you to reach out to that person to interact with them outside of the classroom. Is there anything anybody else would like to add? Chloe, Elizabeth, especially.
I just want to take a moment and shout out Sarah Billingsley for bringing up social work competencies, public health competencies, the beginning of that answer. All right, alum. Okay, now. No, yeah, I think Sarah's perfectly great on that answer. If you do want to learn more about our faculty, and if you have not gone to the what we call the external Brown School website, so the brownschool.wustl.edu, if you haven't gone there yet, which I imagine you would because all the admitted student resources are on there, but you can click faculty and you can look through all of our full-time faculty and check out their bios and see more about what their research interests are. But good job, Sarah.
I'll also really quick, I'll plug this as well. And I've said this in multiple other sessions. My contact information is like all over the web at this point. Like I'm very easy to get a hold of, y'all. And so if you are thinking about instructors and you're trying to like figure out which courses work best for you, I highly recommend you chat with an advisor first. That's the most important thing. But if you just want to like chat with a student who's done it before, I'm happy to have those conversations. And if I can't, then there are other ambassadors that would be happy to as well.
Yes, to all of that. Thank you, Sarah Billingsley. Thank you, Chloe, for that shout out to admitted student resources on the website. That should be bookmarked on all of your web browsers at this point. We got a couple more questions here before we wrap up. This question is about, again, that leave of absence and taking a break. So since there is the potential if someone needs to take a leave of absence in the second semester, could they do that now instead? Take the first semester off and then come in the spring? Danielle.
We do not have a January start. So if you choose not to come this semester, then it would look like you would need to talk to the admissions office about what a year-long deferral would be. I would really encourage people to go ahead and start. What I'm kind of looking at is like, we don't want to make decisions based on assumptions. Like, I think we're all hoping that fall 2021 is going to be back to movie theaters and gyms and restaurants and 100% in classes, and we all don't actually know that. So if you're coming, I wouldn't want to see anybody delay their graduate education based on the assumption that fall 2021 is going to be unicorns and puppy dogs. I'm hoping that they will be, and rainbows. And so, but you know, go ahead and come. But if you don't come this semester, talk to admissions because there is no January start.
Thanks, Danielle. Yes. Couple more here. Any reason why MSW online only students interested in 12 credits are being told not to register for social welfare policies and services?
Yeah, that course is offered both semesters, so you can take it in the spring.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Hey, Sarah, it looks like you skipped over the loans for tuition and living expenses and loan disbursement.
Oh, thank you. I need to go back up. Yeah.
I can just go ahead and tackle that question.
Yeah, please, Dom, go for it.
So your loans will be dispersed 10 days before the first day of school. And then that will take about a week to 10 days for it to hit your account if you're set up with direct deposit. And so in order to get set up with the direct deposit, you'll have to go into WebStack. And there are directions there to set up the direct deposit. But yes, 10 days, it'll disperse. Give it about 7 to 10 days to hit your bank account. And if you need those kind of refunds, definitely you can get a hold of me, email me, and we can talk through that. But give it about 10 days and another 7 to 10 days. Only if it's direct deposit. If it's not direct deposit and you're not set up with that, then a paper check will be mailed to your most current address. So make sure that all of your contact information is set up correctly and updated, because that is where your check will be mailed to.
Perfect. Thanks, Dom.
Yeah.
Are you able to talk about mental health services and health insurance? Are those available through the Brown School or through Washu? Sure, you can dig around the website, but no, great question. I'm glad you asked. Miriam or Zach, maybe. Miriam, do you want to tackle that one? And then Danielle can fill in any blanks.
I'm worried I might not have the most updated information, but yes, you would get health insurance through Habit Health and Wellness Services. So that's through WashU. And I do believe that there are mental health appointments that you can make that are virtual, as well as some other opportunities to seek help. There's a crisis hotline, and there are some other resources. I'm not sure where they're listed, but Zach, maybe we can pop them in the chat.
And just to clarify, so health insurance is a requirement for every student. So if you, there's a waiver and you're getting information about online orientation, but like in order to, you can waive out of the health insurance, but you have to meet certain criteria in order to do that. So you have to have health insurance through Washington University. It does cover mental health services. It is through United Healthcare. We really encourage you. So just so if you're staying online or not going to be in the state of Missouri, there are licensure issues with telehealth across state lines. That's not a Brown School or Washu. That's a state federal guideline. So we can work with you about how to do telehealth maybe in your own, because United Healthcare works out of state. And so we can work with you on getting set up with a provider, mental health provider out of town, out of state if we need to, or at HABIF, or also I would talk to your advisor because there's both the counselors at HABIF and also in the community. So if you feel like you're going to need ongoing kind of weekly support, we really want to work with you to get connected to a provider in the community because HABIF doesn't do weekly appointments for mental health.
And I just saw Zach added that link to the chat. So I highly recommend reading through what those services are and what those opportunities are. And then staying in touch with your advisors, and especially if you want to reach out to either me or Zach or Danielle, we can always talk about what the options are and help you do the right research.
Great, thank you all so much. So I know we're at our time right now, so I do want to be mindful of that of all my panelists. I saw that there was a few more questions that squeaked in there at the last minute. So if you want to reach out to Brown Admissions or any of us, I'm going to share my screen now with some important next steps and all of our contact information so you can reach out to us if you've got any questions at all. So next steps, once you've done all the things that you need to do to register for courses, in July and early August, you'll do steps 10 through 20 in the enrollment packet. And then online orientation, all of that will be happening online, of course, for new students. There's information about that in the enrollment packet, but more information will come out to you all later this summer with how to access all of that in August. So with that, I'm going to leave us with all of our contact information. Thank you all so much for joining us today, asking all of your really great and important questions. Thank you to my panel for being rock stars and answering all these questions for our incoming students. We can't wait to see you at least over the computer if we're not going to see you in person this fall. But let us know if there's anything we can do for you. We're happy to help. We're always here. Thanks so much, and we'll see you soon.